Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Ares Inferno, the starfighter from Crusader. There are two variants of this. Of course there is the brother of this particular ship, the Ion, which we will talk about in another video when I get round to it. But today we're going to focus on the Inferno. It's a ship I've had for a while because I wanted it and believed it would come good again. Now these ships, and in particular the Ion and Inferno, are extremely powerful ships. Designed to take on capital class ships. The Inferno has armor piercing rounds, which is very good for punching through armor. The Ion is extremely good at taking down shields. So a pack of these ships, maybe two Infernos and two Ions, would quickly demolish an Idris, for example. That is their intended role. They are quite controversial. Upon release they got nerfed very heavily. They started with maneuverability. It was far too agile for its size, which is fine, I agree. They should handle a bit more like a Vanguard, which they do now. This has recently had some tweaks. But the main controversy was that the weapons for both the Inferno and the Ion got absolutely obliterated in terms of accuracy. They made the weapons horrific, very hard to hit anything. Which obviously the community were not happy about, which is understandable. Now, however, they've been shown some CIG love, and these ships are very much back in the fight. So I blew the dust off of this, and I've been having a blast in this ship. These ships are great to fly again. They don't have the full accuracy like they did upon launch, but you will still be able to take down pesky light fighters if they are silly enough to hang around your nose. So it's interesting to see how it all came around. We've nearly gone full circle on the development and balance tweaks for these ships, but it's very nice to have the Inferno and the Ion back in the game loop doing what they're supposed to do. The Ares Star Fighter Inferno, produced by Crusader Industries, is an anti-capital fighter equipped with a Behring manufactured size 7 ballistic gatling. Its sustained fire capability is devastating, overpowering adversaries with a relentless barrage that can take down smaller vessels and rapidly shred the hulls of larger ones. While formidable on its own, the Inferno is an effective complement to the Ares Ion, its brother, in capital ship engagements. As its armor-piercing rounds can be paired with the Ion's shield-disabling shots, the combination enhances the Inferno's effectiveness in hunting down capital ships. Now for me personally, there is something very alluring about seeing a really well designed, sleek looking venomous spaceship with a very large gun, and I think out of the two, the Inferno looks the most potent and brutal out of that of the Ion and the Inferno. I think the Inferno is the better looking ship. There are advantages and disadvantages to either one. I think the main disadvantage for the Inferno is the fact that you are limited by ammo count, whereas at least you can put your power onto full shields in a conflict and not have to worry about recharging the weapon system that you would have to with the Ion. The Ion recharges its main weapon, which requires you to, I mean, it's not really a big deal, but it is a slight benefit over the Ion. You have to wait for the weapon to reload and recharge itself. With the Inferno, that's not really an issue because you can put power fully into shields and still operate that size 7 gatling, which is very, very fun to use. Extremely fun to use, especially when you're seeing larger ships blow up. There is great fun to be had with either the Ion and the Inferno. There are pros and cons. It does have enough missiles to tackle light fighters to some extent. It has recently received a little help with the aiming pip, whereas before it was removed, and it was absolutely horrific trying to hit anything smaller than a medium-sized ship. Connies and above wasn't an issue, I would say, but now it's had a little bit of love shown, and we do in fact have a better aiming reticle, and we can put rounds on target, which is a very nice addition. Okay, so let's talk about this monstrous size 7 gatling, shall we? It's a Behring SF7B ballistic gatling gun, a ballistic version of the SF7 series. This weapon requires no additional components for cooling or powering. This space is used instead to carry additional ammunition. and I believe the bullets are in fact armor piercing as well. So when we get armor into the game, this gatling will absolutely shred the holes of your intended target. There really shouldn't be much left, and it should be full of holes very quickly. This is a very potent weapon system, especially on a single pilot platform. Okay, so with all of these changes in mind, I wanted to see for myself just how effective the Inferno could be, and what a better place than obviously Jumptown in a live PvP environment. Now, I was fully expecting just to get hammered by light fighters, whether it be an Arrow or a Gladius, or, you know, the typical sort of, I hate the word meta in Star Citizen, and I can't wait for it to die, but those sort of light fighters I was expecting to get absolutely shredded. Didn't quite turn out that way. I'm not a combat pilot, I don't practice, I don't try, because Master Mode is around the corner, so I've never ever put any effort into trying to improve my combat pilot skills. So what you're going to see is, quite frankly, embarrassing on my part. However, strange things did occur. So as we can see, I've rocked up here, and there is a Corsair, I'm assuming, loading up. I get locked up by some dudes who shoot some missiles at me. Oblivious, and not really caring, I continue to make sure that the Corsair must die. Corsair dies. Took a bit longer than I was expecting. We get these inbound missiles. And here is a classic example that I can't help feel that this is partly why these ships got nerfed, because we have a player here, Mr. Med Machine, who is taking a head-on fight with an Inferno in a Titan. He quickly gets dispatched, okay? He gets evaporated. Part of me feels like the Ion and the Inferno got nerfed because of people doing things of that nature. Not 100%, but I do think it was a contributing factor. That's the equivalent of trying to take on a modern tank today head-on, where the armor is thickest, where the firepower is the most brutal, and you walk up to the front of the tank and try and kill it with a grenade. It's not going to end well for you. I kind of get that feeling. That's just speculation. I don't think that was the main reason. I think it wasn't designed to kill live fighters with ease, which is fair enough, but I think the players that were taking on these ships head-on did not help the situation. So anyway, we've destroyed a Titan, a Corsair, and then I'm sort of thinking, well, that wasn't bad at all. You'll notice the gun was actually accurate, which was nice. We have, I don't know if this is the same dude. No, it's not. It's a separate Titan, and I just send missiles his way, which is what their intended role is to help destroy fighters. And he gets wrecked with the missiles and gets sent into that horrible spin of death. So, although I wasted missiles there, I was very surprised at this point. I'm at Jumptown. I'm in a ship that got nerfed into oblivion, and here I am holding my own somehow. You know, just the most casual combat pilot in the world ever. Here's another situation. We have Hurricane Tyrone coming in a Hercules. Now, at the time, I didn't realise he was in a Hercules. I actually thought he was in the Hurricane because of his name. So, if I had known, I would have just charged this guy down and really see what the capabilities of this ship are now in the current game. I don't know why I wasn't paying attention to my target information, like what ship it was. If I had known, I absolutely, would have chased him down and smashed him to bits with this size 7. Alas, I'm only human, and I made mistakes every now and again, which is fine. So he escapes to fight another day, which is unfortunate. But I haven't died yet, which is the bizarre thing. I think in this whole Jumptown scenario, the only time I died was I got hit with a torpedo, which I can only assume was an eclipse, which is fair enough, and I got one shot. But apart from that, the Inferno really did surprise me, and ever since this Jumptown live test, if you will, I cannot stop flying this ship. I'm absolutely having a blast. Now you'll notice the nose is still fairly sloppy to try and get rounds on target, but you can also notice that the rounds are actually connecting. We have a Cutlass Black here who decides to take the fight, and I'm like, okay, we'll do this all day long. You'll notice I also have the shields on 100%, which is something we would have to negate with the Ion. We would have to switch to charging weapons and then back to shields or thrusters or however you intended to use your ship at that time. Like I said, there's pros and cons to both. The con of the Inferno is in fact that we have limited ammo. The Ion has endless ammo but has to recharge its weapons, so pros and cons. Anyway, this guy, he decides, nope, I'm not having this fight. Decides to land. And I'm like, okay, we'll have a missile just because. Why not? You can keep that. It's free. Keep it forever. Now you'll notice, again, although the nose is very slow to respond to get rounds on target, the fact that we are actually hitting the target is a massive step forward for this particular ship. And the nerfs, and it does equate to the Ion as well that this ship has got. So it's back in a place where I think it's actually very good, and I'm having a really good time with it. So we kill the Cutlass, and you can just see the pilot there hopping out. He's going to jump down. Regardless, doesn't need a ship. Who does? So he's just going to go there and probably hold angles or whatever. This next encounter is just really bizarre. Very bad. I'm a very bad pilot. Told you I put zero effort into combat. It's just if I have to defend myself, try. That's it. We ambushed this Vanguard, which I believe was a player from later on or earlier on. I can't really remember. This is just clumsy, but it's more of a fair fight, I feel. Vanguards in general are very good ships. They're very popular for good reason. So we initiate the Dance of Death. It's just the most awkward combat I've ever been in. It's so ridiculous in some aspects. So I'm trying to lock missiles, obviously, and then he turns into me. So if he was going to extend away, I was going to put missiles towards him, but he turns in, and then we begin this very bizarre close encounter, in your face, knives out, knife fighting in a phone booth scenario. And I don't even care at this point, you know. I'm not trying to maneuver, I'm stationary, and I'm like, okay, let's really see what we can do with this gatling. So we start this clumsy knife fight in this phone booth, and I'm not one, you know, I don't care if I die at all, so I'm here for the duration. And we start this ridiculous pirouette of nonsense that's going on right now, but I'm so stubborn, I completely refuse to move, because I'm testing one. These are all stock components. The shields are holding up fairly well. The Vanguard is no pushover, depending on what weapon systems he's got on board. So I'm just like, okay, tanking these rounds in the face, do not care. You pretty much touch there, I'm almost certain of it. Again, you'll notice it's a little bit, although the nose isn't instantaneous with the aiming, it is more responsive than it was. So I'm just sitting here tanking his rounds, and he can have every single one of these size 7 bullets for free. I'm not even going to charge him. He can keep these. It's such a bizarre scenario that I've found myself in. But as you can see, we are getting hits. There are hits being landed on a medium-sized ship, which is fantastic. A skilled Gladius Arrow pilot, in fact any skilled combat pilot, would have probably destroyed me by now. I don't think this guy is, I think he's very much like myself, just casual. He gets evaporated. 4 months ago, that wouldn't have happened in a million years. So I'm very happy with where the ship is now. It's great fun, it's fairly tanky, and of course the size 7 does help. Let's now then take a look at the ship's components and weapon systems you will find on board stock if you decide to purchase this ship in-game. Okay guys, so let's take a look at the stock components you'll find on this ship if you decide to pick one up. It's about 2.8 million in-game and $250 on the website. So we have 3 coolers. These are the Arctics. These are size 2 grade 3 military class coolers to be found on the Inferno. Not really much more to say about it. I have not found the need to replace any of these components yet, but I haven't really put enough time in. So the power plant itself is a Maelstrom. That itself is a size 2 grade 3 class military power plant. Again, I've had no need to change anything, not yet anyway. As the universe expands, obviously you're going to maybe want to tailor make your ship to suit your needs. The QT drive is a good drive, crossfield, so it has good range and actually good speed. It's size 2 grade 3 class military as well. That's from AUEC, so that's an actually very good stock component. It's normally something I chuck into the connies. Shield generators, we have 2. This is the full stop, which again is a size 2 grade 3 and also a military grade component. So a lot of military stuff in there, fairly basic stuff, tailor at your own will. So let's then begin our walk around of the Ares Inferno, just to give you a little bit more of a sense of scale and a bit more of a closer look. I really enjoy Crusader ships at the moment. Their standard of ship design and the way they look has been very impressive. With the A1 Spirit, in fact the Spirit series in general, their ships really are looking very modern, very feisty, very sleek in design, and the Inferno and Ion are no exception to those details. It looks fantastic. Tricycle landing gear, shoulder mounted, 3-barreled, size 7 gatling, a very prominent feature, bespoke to the Inferno. Fixed, obviously, if this was gimbaled, that would be a whole different animal. I'm kind of glad it's fixed. It works just fine now, much better place than it used to be, but yes, that is a significant weapon system, and it is an absolute blast to use. Just a very sleek series of ships that Crusader have been producing lately. This is no exception. Very angular, aggressive looking. I think the Inferno, personally, I mean this is of course personal preference, I think it has a better paint job than the Ion. Speaking of paints, there are ample for these ships. There are, I think off the top of my head, at least 12 different paint schemes you can apply to these ships, so you can definitely spice up the look of your ship. What I really like though is these sort of like heat shielding hexagons that run through the external of the ship that cover the wing. A nice subtle Crusader logo with the hints of red running through the wings. We have maneuvering thrusters, and of course at the back it does get interesting. Like there is a gap between the 2 engines, which I've kind of feel like maybe it was going to have another engine, very much like the Star Runner, because there is that just large gap. I mean, it doesn't need an engine there, it just, I feel like there might have been one, is kind of what I'm saying. So you can actually see through to the front of the ship as well, but the engines, I feel like there might have been another smaller engine in a circular shape put on the rear of this ship, but it is very well engineered, looks extremely good with the pipes, the heat shielding, maneuvering thrusters. You know, it's a very sleek looking ship. Not quite Batman-esque like the Eclipse, but it's not far off, and I don't know if that's illusion with the black skin. Maybe not. Oh, don't know what happened there. So let's hop into the pilot seat and have a detailed look at the cockpit. And we do a run and jump. Yes, we're athletic. Look at that. And we're in. I hate that the camera does this when I can get rid of that. It's so infuriating that you get in the ship and for some reason your brain decides to look at the roof. So in we go. Very simple. MFDs and the colouring is very nice. It's not too in your face. And we have some weird technical issues here, it would seem. Oh, no, there we go. Let's just put that down to the ship warming up. It's not a bug. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. So as you can see, it's a HOTAS system. We have a control panel on our right with various switches. We have 4 easy to read MFDs. I like the colouring of them. They're not too in your face. They're not too bright. I love the switches. I think they're really well modelled, and it's something that you see in the Star Runner. I just wish they'd get rid of the blue writing, because as you can see, they're labelled anyway. And having that blue writing, and this is for all ships, it's just a little quality of life change I think would make the ships better. Get rid of that, because if they've got the switches labelled, it's pretty self-explanatory. Eject button in between the legs, so should things go bad, at least you can send yourself away from danger at a rapid rate of space knots. So yeah, very simple, easy to read layout. Again, just get rid of this blue writing stuff. Just allow us to actually actuate the switches. Because we know they said that all of these are going to work in the future. Like how they are here, just highlighted green is fine. Get rid of the blue writing, we don't need it. But visibility wise, it's fairly good. You're not going to check your 6 o'clock at all, like most ships in the game. It's not happening, but it is extremely nice to see that size 7 on your starboard side being very prominent and firing. It's an absolute animal of a weapon system. So very crisp, very clean. There is still that bug that occasionally pops out with the HUD, with the low resolution HUD, which I absolutely loathe. It drives me insane. It's a bug that needs to get squashed and quickly, because it's very important that you can see your flight instruments and what you're doing. Overall, fantastic ship now, back in the ballpark, back in the fight, and that's my video on the Inferno, guys. If you enjoyed it, you know what buttons to press, and I of course will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Cheers.